Talented a-holes. Book reveals the worst about journalists. Mike Wallace, Katie Couric, Diane Sawyer. Got me thinking, what's it like to deal with co-workers, bosses, working with them? How do you survive it? I'm breaking it all down in this video, so stay tuned. Hey there, I'm Rebecca Zung. I am an attorney. I am a narcissist negotiation expert. And on this channel and in these videos, I teach you how to deal with the dreaded narcissist. And if that sounds amazing to you, if you want to be the most powerful and persuasive person in any room into which you walk, please feel free to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. All right, so I just was reading about a brand new book that just came out. It's called Ticking Clock. It's written by this guy who had worked with all these really, really talented people. The guy's name is Ira Rosen, and he worked with Mike Wallace, and he worked with Diane Sawyer, and he worked with Chris Cuomo and Katie Couric, and he worked with these people that he called talented a-holes. Let's see, he started in 1980. He was 26 years old. He worked with then Mike Wallace, who he was like amazed with working with. And he goes on to say, hey, I learned a ton from him. But he was extremely volatile and toxic. He described how he would grab papers and throw them at him and fistfuls of documents and hurl them into his face and curse at him, all sorts of it. It was astonishing verbal abuse is the way that he actually describes it. He describes him as being actually abusive. So he's got this new memoir that just came out, and he talks about him. He also talks about Diane Sawyer, and it just actually got me thinking about how do you deal with these people in a workplace environment or in any career situation. It talks about Diane Sawyer and how she could kiss your cheek and then be quite the backstabber. I mean, who hasn't dealt with that? He talks about Katie Couric and how she thought she was smarter than all of us, that she would pick fights with colleagues, get your blood moving, all sorts of things. Let's see, Chris Cuomo, disrespectful, Chris Wallace, really, really interesting. I mean, and so anyway, it just got me thinking about what it's like to work for narcissists. I have been there. I've worked for a couple myself. Not fun, not fun. But I'll tell you this. I mean, early on in my career, I worked for a couple of narcissistic lawyers. The way I dealt with it is I knew that I was working for people who were actually very talented. And it sounds like that's what Ira Rosen did as well. I mean, he actually goes on, at least in this particular article that I read, which happens to be in the New York Post, and I haven't read the book itself, but I happened to read this article about the book. And it seems like he goes on to say, hey, I learned a lot from these people. And that's what I decided I did too. And I think sometimes you need to decide, hey, I'm in a good situation. I'm learning a lot. I'm going to take the good with the bad, and maybe that's going to be your situation. However, if it's a really abusive situation that's stealing your soul and you feel like I can't do this anymore, then perhaps you need to look for a different job. One of the things that you can do as well is do the things that you need to do in any situation with a narcissist, which is document, document, document. Make sure that you are taking notes, that you are responding in appropriate ways. And by the way, I do have a whole video on how to respond to narcissistic texting, which if you get a text from them, you want to respond in an appropriate way, definitely check out my video on that topic so that you know how to respond in an appropriate way. Make sure that you are doing that, don't get emotional. Don't allow yourself to be sucked into the emotion of it. They do like to trigger you. I would definitely not stay in a situation for longer than you need to, unless you think that it's serving you or serving your career in some way. You do have to have a certain amount of stamina when you're dealing with those sorts of people. And you do have to sort of think about it in terms of, okay, I'm making a choice, to be here, because I know that I'm learning. I know that I'm going to be able to put this on my resume. I'm going to have a certain type of skills that I'm going to be able to transfer. I'm going to be able to take somewhere else, that sort of thing. I mean, you think about the people that maybe worked for Steve Jobs at one point and they go, okay, I had that opportunity. I got to do that. So if you can endure it because you know that that's what you're doing, then that's your choice. But you have to understand that you're choosing that at that moment. But for the most part, I would say don't do it for very long. Have your boundaries. You can use your 50 key phrases to disarm narcissists, which I have in my Slay program, which you can certainly get. If you are negotiating with a narcissist, you can certainly grab my free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet at winmynegotiation.com. Make sure that you aren't getting sucked into being triggered by them, not allowing yourself to be put in a situation where they're gaslighting you, by saying things that didn't happen. That's what happens. They'll say, oh, we talked about that, that. Just say, nope, we didn't have that conversation. You can avoid that by making sure that you send confirmatory emails, send confirmatory texts, keep your documentation, so that you don't allow yourself to be sucked into those sorts of things, and just say, I'm not allowing you to speak to me that way. That was disrespectful. You can always say certain things like that as well, and just try to keep your boundaries. Sometimes use your bartering techniques as well, which is kind of fluffing up their ego so that you can get something, give them something that they want, so that you can get something that that you want in return, which is a little something that I also teach in the Slay program. So those are just a couple of the things that you can do to kind of maybe survive the situation while you're in it. If you are in it for a period of time, I would just say, don't stay there very long. If you just choose to stay there, understand that you're choosing to stay there for a reason, because you know that you're going to be learning something, getting something out of it, getting some value from it. But anyway, brand new book out, apparently, about talented a-holes. Sometimes that happens, I guess, with people, and they get full of themselves. I haven't read the book, not certainly saying go read the book, because I don't know. But anyway, I saw that article and it made me think about what's it like to be negotiating and dealing with people in the workplace. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to remind everybody how to deal with that in a way that's productive. So you can grab the free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet at winmynegotiation.com. You can also join my free private Facebook group at Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. If you are so ready to beat them in a negotiation, give me a beat them in the comments below. I want to see beat them below for sure. And I'm so glad that you stopped by. Make sure that you like this video, give it a like, give it a share, and make sure you subscribe to this channel. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. I am so glad that you stopped by. And remember, today is a great day to start negotiating your best life. And I will definitely see you in the next video.